Well, 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 well. Can anybody tell me what that theme tune's off, right? It's some old school, like, animal program from the 1980s. And I'm thinking the best place I've got with it, right, is Animal Magic. But I might be wrong. And it had some, like, old bloke. You all know his face if you're of a certain age, and he would sweep up after elephants and that kind of thing. And we were children at the time, if you're in your 40s, right? What the hell was the rave tune called that samples that? Because I'm going out of my mind trying to, like, I remember it being an old Resurrection tape from like 90 something, one of the early ones. I don't know, but I thought I'd ask. Anyway, welcome to Cow Daily. Let us know if you know what the name of that rave tune is, because it's boggling my head. Anyway, the fash. We're talking about the fash again today. This is by request. Zoe asked me to talk about the fash, so we're doing fash talk again. One thing I do want to say is this, right? Like, this is us talking about the fash for the first time when it's topical. We're talking about the fash a lot. Last October, we did all the Lee Anderson's got fascist scooter pals thing. Crickets. Like, we've done so many of these things, man. And we've been trying to warn about it. We're talking specifically about Knowsley, which is a council area just outside Liverpool City Council. It's still Liverpool, essentially. Just like North Tyneside is still Newcastle, really, kind of similar. So we're going to be talking about what's went on there, which is essentially a riot outside of a hotel called Suit Hotel, which houses asylum seekers and refugees. Actually, no, sorry, asylum seekers who are there, staying there temporarily, I believe is what it is. One of the problems that has triggered this off is there's a video been doing the rounds of a nonce proposition and a 15-year-old schoolgirl, and it should be treated as any other nonce. Like, why is this suddenly resulting in like mobs turning up outside a hotel housing people? Like, let's have it right. If this was a white nonce, right? And we'll go on to talk about some of the fash and their links to pure noncery in a bit. But what I want to ask is, before we get into all of this, right? I'm dangerously close to YouTube talk there. Let's get into it, guys. Before we get into it, what I want to ask is right, and we'll pick these up towards the end. What do you think the solutions to this are? Like, what do you think the solutions to this rise of fascism are? We've been talking about this for over a decade, man. A long time. Since before there was a podcast, we were on about this. And here we are, right again, absolutely gutted. Gutted. I used to work with young people in Liverpool. This is nothing new. And we're going to talk about the sort of like image of the city, which is a good one. It's a great one. It's better than a hell of a lot of like cities in the UK in terms of being progressive and whatever. But like anywhere, young people in estates and places of that nature tend to get overlooked. And this was happening when was I working with the young people from Liverpool? It's over a decade, maybe 15 years ago. And this was all going on then. There was like definitely a racist sort of undertone to certain things. And it wasn't just obviously with Liverpool young people, but it exists. And I think part of the problem is like people, certainly since the election, have put Liverpool on this like untouchable sort of pedestal. Like locally, they're calling it Blag Scouse socialism. We'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, I've got a really good thing via Scally Mag to sort of start the conversation off. So before we do that, though, please, if you would like to support our work, you can do it in one of these ways. Please subscribe to the Cow Daily YouTube channel. I see more people have done that this week since we started again. It's really pleasing and welcome. So that would be youtube.com/Cow Daily. youtube.com/Cow Daily. If you would like to support our work directly and financially, please go to patreon.com/Cow Daily. That's patreon.com/Cow Daily. help us to be months ahead in the fight against fascism. Absolutely gutted before the crash, like, because we were absolutely flying and the algorithm was being turned right on, and we were just about to get back into the top 10 on the podcast charts as well. I haven't not thought about that every single day because that was months of work to get it on the precipice of that. So please help us get back there. We will do this, but health is wealth, as they say. One thing I want to read out for you is this, right? I'll just switch over to here. This is via Scally Mag, and this is something that was sent to the editor of Scally Mag by a local in Liverpool. And it reads thus. It isn't that hard to understand. A big void in shit lives gets filled by people offering simple solutions, the fash, while the clever people tut and think they're above it all. So fucking true, that, man. Whatever we had under Corbyn fell away to shit during the pandemic. The public health argument wasn't won, and Starmer refused to confront Johnson. Now is not the time. So true. So a big problem began with the people who didn't think they should have been locked out of gyms being an easy target. The result being the right wing now have a few handy lads on board. This is a massive, massive problem because, like, back in the day, like Anti-Fascist Action and people like that had people like Desi Noonan, who basically was a Manchester gangster, and he squared a lot of this shit away. Wasn't exactly the nicest lad himself, if you look at what went on, but that's not for me to talk about. However, handy people, yes. So the downfall of the right in Liverpool since the early 80s has been the lack of handy local street fighters. I think they have addressed that now, and that is a big problem. Half the attraction of the NF and the BNP was the aggro. That attraction wasn't there when they were getting legged. That means ran off. It will be now. After lockdown came the anti-vax. Healthy young people being told the vaccine would harm them more than the virus could. The people telling them otherwise were the same people who wanted them locked out of the gyms. And it goes on. So, job done. The gym firm are now increasingly embedded behind anti-lockdown and anti-vax, to the extent that previously good lads were in protest alongside MAGA heads and openly neo-Nazi types like the British Union of Fascists. We've talked about this before. This happened in Newcastle too, and there's plenty of people who have yet to see, and we'll be having a chat when we bump into each other. Trust me. Like, this video of people like chopping it up with these people, man. Like, what the fuck? That's that cosmic right thing, that like crystal bothering so-called hippies and fascist thing. And it was always the fucking case. The sort of I must be in control of this hippie group thing in Newcastle is mental, and there's too many of those people. Anyway, I digress. Say as it looks, same everywhere, isn't it? So anyway, the groundwork was done. The good lads were on side, ready and willing to jump in the next cab off the rank. The pedo immigrants won. Once in a mob, the sidestep from get the pedos out to get the immigrants out is an easy one, and here we are. There's already dismissal of it as only Kirkby on the outskirts. That's ultimate in snooty centrist wrong. There isn't an area of Liverpool, maybe with the exception of Granby and Princes Park, where this couldn't happen. Deprived areas from Croxteth and Fazakerley in the north to Vauxhall and Dingle down to Speke and Garston in the south are absolutely fertile ground for the far right. Surprise a few people who don't know what Liverpool's like can be about. We've let this happen while sitting on a throne of Scouse exceptionalism, something built upon a false social identity rather than any true working class perspective. We've allowed too much of the left activist base to get tied up in Labour trivia. Right, next. Meanwhile, the right wing have been promoting jargon causes to angry crowds without any political intervention from us, the left, whether it be Alfie's Army, anti-lockdown, anti-vax, anti-5G, grooming gangs, fucking chemtrails. We have just stood off taking the piss. Well, as our comrades who ended up outnumbered and barricaded in a car park on Friday will testify, those days are over. These have feet on the ground ready to go. We need to stop burying our heads in the sand of Blag Scouse socialism and get those heads around actual socialism, how it's built, how it grows, and how it deals with the far right. Do you know what it is, right? Without being all like, oh, there's always like positives and that. Maybe there is, because I think it's not just this Blag Scouse socialism thing. I think it's like just across the board. The career left, to introduce a term if you've never heard it, is an absolute problem, because I've seen this with like people that we've endorsed in the past. Like, once they get the nice job, hold on a minute, weren't you supposed to be fighting for us? And that is a problem, and that doesn't just, it's not just elected people, it cuts across so many other sectors of society, and also certainly the job merry-go-round within the left. It's all to me, as a working class lad, it all seems very middle class. And that's a fucking problem when it comes to like what we've seen in Knowsley. For those who haven't seen it, Chantel Lunt, who we've mentioned on here before, she shared a video, and I will share it with you. And it's basically just give you an idea of what the hell's been going on out there. So 2 seconds. Let us see. Yes, it works. Check this shit out, man. This is mad. For audio people who were watching, hooded and masked young lads smash busy hands it up. And people are, somebody's put a "This is our city" banner in front of the camera, and that was the guy who was filming it. So I'm just going to take some of your comments at this point before we move on. I want to sort of like look at that, because what the far right, like Nigel Farage and all of these other people are trying to claim is that it was just solely locals who are sick and tired of all these nonsense floating around this hotel. Now, the problem that we've got there is, right, I've seen the video, and that's a nonce. Like, and this is a problem, right, with the people I'm talking about, liberals and middle class, a lot of middle class people in the left. And I'm not saying that all of them are a problem, they're not, but they don't have our lived experience, so they cannot possibly understand what's going on in these estates in Liverpool and elsewhere from a perspective of theory that they learned in university. I encountered this a hell of a lot in youth and community work. There was people like who had lived experience, and then there was people who went to university and had very well none basically, and then there was like a small sort of Venn diagram crossover in the middle, and the young people were. I mean, look, this is nothing new, is it? It's years and years and years of austerity, but this has happened throughout history. This happened in Greece recently, like after the EU completely stitched the Greeks. Like the Golden Dawn rose, and one of the ways that they rose was to copy the Black Panthers breakfast clubs in the United States, but only for basically white people. I mean, like, geez, like let's not pussyfoot around it. And this is one of the things that the right are getting very good at, nicking what the left used to do, which is that kind of thing, and putting a little twist on it, which is racism. And this is happening. It's not just Liverpool. It's not just in England. It's not just the UK. It's not just Europe. This is across the world. Brazil, the United States. We've been speaking about this since we started Cow Daily because I really want to get this across, right? The likes of Steve Bannon and others are literally getting leaders of countries elected. Donald Trump, Meloni, like your man in Hungary, Orban, like it goes on. What, you know how people used to treat this when I would speak about this in like 2015 before, just laugh in my face. Oh, there you go. You just like you're just making it up. Ha ha ha. This isn't going to happen. Here we are. It's happened. It's been happening, and we need solutions. We need to know what the fuck to do, because I'm up for whatever. I sit here on camera, and I've been on camera. I'm not hiding my face at all. The days for that are done, man. Unless you're at a protest, like wear your masks. It's good for the COVID and that. It is, but also for other reasons. No gimmies for these people. None. Speaking in code, innit? But like, what are you going to do? We've got guidelines. Just have a drink of me tea. 2 seconds. Yum yum. Ginger tea again today. Lovely. I've moved on from lemon balm in case anybody's interested. Right, comments. What we got? Right. Ha ha. Joanne's in. Hello, Joanne. Nice to see you. You were missed yesterday. B62 Boom 1. Hello from by a beautiful lake in South Wales. Sounds absolutely idyllic, my friend. MS, all is well on the YouTube front. Great to be here. Glad you're better. Really nice to see you, my friend. Absolutely lush, in fact. So thank you for being here. Like I'm just just breaking away from the running order today. This is serious, man. Like, I don't know what other words I can use to warn people about this. I think I've exhausted the English language over the years trying to convey the seriousness of this. And now what we have are sections of the younger generation who are mad for a riot, like right up for it, and not in a good way. It's the age-old routine of blame people from the outside, blame them for the reason that they haven't got the jobs, and then just use them as battering rams, and then look the other way when they get lifted, because that's what's going to happen. Absolutely happening. Joanne says, Mystic Cow, you better believe it. And the thing is, it's not even that much mysticism. What it is like just reading shit and just going, oh yeah. But I've been doing it for 20 odd years. So I'll show you that as well, because I remembered the leader of Patriotic Alternative who've been leafleting Knowsley. Oh, they're blowing the big reveal. Kirsty's in. Nice to see you back. Andrew Pal, always a pleasure. Jacqueline saying, perhaps the answer isn't looking for one solution, but for several solutions. I think you're right. Before I crack into this, please get yourselves in the comments and we'll pull them up at the end. Also, what I'm thinking about doing just generally is I enjoyed yesterday and we were doing the sort of Ask Me Anything thing. So feel free to ask me anything. I'll try and answer it at the end. And it might just be a palate cleanser from like all of this mad fascist shit. But here we go. Fuck fascism at all times. What we got here? Right. So this is the Fellowship of the Memes, Gandalf the Red's page, I believe. He's put a comment forward and responded to it. So here's the comment. I applaud the people for standing up for their country, as none of us really know their agenda for being here other than working for the government against us. I don't applaud violence. I mean, I don't know what that is, but like this is the response from Fellowship of the Memes. Alison applauds the fascists intimidating refugees. Sorry, apparently government agents. But the most important thing to take away from her is that she doesn't applaud violence. Fascism doesn't start with jackboots. It starts with enough Alisons ready to side with fascists because they've been drip fed so much bullshit. Alison, no doubt, would be the type of grass on their Jewish neighbours in the 40s. I mean, he ends with a joke, but it's bloody right, isn't it? I mean, I was reading, and I've mentioned this a few times, but for new people, like I was in France last year, and basically I found out a little bit about the French resistance, and it was less than 5% of the French population who actually stood up against the Nazis. The rest looked the other way. Some of those willfully turned into massive grasses and dobbed in Jewish people left and right. Whereas 5% of us didn't. 5% of us were like, fuck you. And even less than 5% of that went out and directly confronted them. And those people, like, after the war, because there was a crazily small amount of like people versus the French population in the resistance, right? After the war, the people who joined in the last month or so, and it became obvious, they were kicked to bits. They were dealt with, man. And these things aren't often talked about so much, but so it was interesting for me to find out about these things, right? The Tom Bombard is this. Fast forward to 2023. Fascism everywhere, literally everywhere, leading Italy. That's very dangerous given the history, Mussolini, etc. Maybe, hopefully, Lampus get involved. So, moving on. So, the problem that we've got here is GB News, etc., are creating all these Alisons. And one of the problems that I've had with the left is just the fucking sneering and the fucking laughter at GB News, etc. Oh, it's losing money. There's nobody watching it. Well, as was said at the fucking time, it's got a stupid amount of billionaire coin behind it, and it can be ran as a loss leader. Look at Murdoch and the Sun and everything. That's been losing money. That's not the purpose of them. If they can make money, they'll make money. And GB News probably will after a while because it's getting the views and that. But the fucking absolute shitbaggery of the left, it's all this fucking spell checking racists, all of this anything that feeds into sneering has fed into this. Because here's the thing. Why on earth, right? This is the most obvious thing. If you sneer at somebody, they are not, well, they're far less likely to come round to your way of thinking. Bombshell. Holy shit. Really? How, like, look back and like look over the last sort of, let's just take from when Cameron was elected and moving forward beyond that. Look at the people who've just been doing all the laughing, man. Like, I by all means have a laugh and take the piss, but it's been relentless, like, and it's just like, listen, if you take if somebody's gonna come along and not take the piss out of somebody's spelling and offer them some really basic jargon, short sentence answer to their problems, they're going down that road. Again, newsflash. And this is for me where the left really need to stop the fucking navel gazing and understand that working class people are getting away and have got away from any kind of this progressiveness. And people are asking us, like, sort of, why do I think this is? First thing was, have you ever listened to any of the fucking output or watched it? Second thing is, right, quick précis. Korea left, Labour masquerading as the left, people like Mandelson and whatever in Hartlepool, like saying things to Peter Hain in the 90s, you could put a red rosette on a pig and they'll get elected. Massively taken for granted, working class people. And onwards it goes from there. And then we have just the general like presence of middle class people in every space, and they have no concept at all about working class people. Now, I'm not just talking, like, we need to be very fucking clear here, because this is another part of what I think the problem is. A focus on identity politics over a class analysis. A class analysis includes everybody, but it acknowledges that, like, ethnicity and their individual struggle, right? But it's part of a collectivized struggle. Identity politics puts a hierarchy within that struggle. And guess who's at the bottom? White working class people. But that's not just working class people. So that made it dead easy for the far right to go, right, we need to separate white working class people from non-white working class people. And if we can do that, we can turn them against each other, and they'll never look up and they'll never realize it's the establishment who's doing it to them. Those people protesting outside that hotel should be protesting outside of Parliament, because those are the people on both sides of the aisle who are doing this to them. Labour and the Tories and the Lib Dems and. They're all culpable for this, because they're playing this fake culture war game and they're playing with fire. If you marry that alongside cost of living, all of the stuff that the lad from Liverpool there detailed about, like, things specific to Liverpool, that's Jim's thing is a massive thing, because a lot of gyms are like where young people go to let their steam off. Simple as, it's like why we were running boxing clubs and all kinds of stuff, because you need somewhere that's a focus to focus young people's attention. Now, just swifting this on to something, people are trying to claim that this had nothing to do with fascists. It's a load of shit, right? Yeah, there was a load of locals there, but you would be if there was a like nonce video outside the thing. Yeah, I'd be going. Like, work that one out, right? If that was happening in my community, I'd be going. If somebody was trying to nonce a kid up, whoever they were, we'd go. So that's maybe something that's like different between working class communities and middle class communities. We're a little bit more direct generally, you know. Now, I don't know if it's happening in middle class communities or not, but like what I'm not seeing, right? And I know it has happened, because it's like happened local to me a few years ago. a white nonce was burned out, but it happens incredibly rarely. But I tell you, like, what's fertile ground for the fash? Picking up on instances like that, and they're trying to deny it. But here is, I believe, from Telegram, Patriotic Alternative. This is a follow-on, and I think it's the like remnants of National Action, which is a prescribed group. They were prescribed because the one of the members, well, probably most of them knew, but plotted to kill an MP, a Labour MP. So anyway, it says, yeah, Patrick Alternative Northwest activists were out in Knowsley, Liverpool to protest the housing of hundreds of migrants in the Suites Hotel. After a banner drop and speech outside the hotel, enthusiastic activists from PA Merseyside branch went and delivered over 200 leaflets in the local area. There's more here, some more examples. The whole "This is our city" thing that we saw in the video before. This has been fashed from outside the area who's brought that slogan into the mix. They've also, as you can see in the bottom right, they've used the "Enough is Enough" slogan, which is obviously, as you know, left-wing sort of protest thing started by the likes of the RMT and whatever. So they are advertising here the protests, and this is before what happened in Knowsley. So what they're saying here, these are the next 4 protests. First, Suites Hotel, Knowsley. 2 seconds, me dog's barking. Zeb, shut up. Sorry about that. It's all dog time at the minute, and he's loving a bit of a goller on. Anyway, so first, Suites Hotel, Knowsley, 10th of the 2nd, 2023 at 8 p.m. That was the one that we saw where things were getting all mashed up and things were set on fire. There's 3 more that they're advertising on their channels here. You can't actually see it, but the bottom right at the top of this document has like lots of stuff about our white children and all that. Fascism, certainly neo-fascism, operates on something called one of the slogans is the 14 words, which is we must secure an existence for our white race and white children. I really hope I don't know that off the top of my head. But look, I've been researching these fuckwits for years. So the fact that I could do the 14 words off the top of my head is actually quite troubling. I didn't realize. I've never done that out loud. So that's the Patriotic Alternative, and the Patriotic Alternative is led by somebody called Mark Collett, which we'll go on to in a minute. This is from the times.co.uk. Patriotic Alternative posted anti-migrant leaflets before the Merseyside riots. They have done this to create one. So they've also been involving themselves in there was a drag queen story time that was at the Tate Britain. So anyway, what the guy Joe Mulhall says here is, yesterday I was covering the far-right protest at Tate Britain. I was approached by a group of activists from the fascist group Patriotic Alternative. Their video of it has got some traction, and lots of people are saying I shouldn't have called them fascists. Here's why I did. I'm not going to go on to that because they're blatantly fascists. And if you want to know, go to @JoeMulhall_. This here is Mark Collett on the left. On the right is shit bat of the Valkyries. I don't know. What we're saying is a very tall blonde woman with lots of tattoos. Let's call her Fash Tat 3. Over her left breast, she's got a swastika, and not in a good way. It's definitely in a bad way. I don't know if this is still Mark Collett's partner, but the last documentary I saw about this fuckwit, definitely. Speaking of documentaries, here is Mark Collett back in the day. On the right is a young Russell Brand. On the left is Mark Collett. This is from when Brand was still on the gear. So this is a long time ago. Shouts to Russell Brand and all the work he's done for sobriety. Well done. But off his lips, I've seen interviews with Brand at the time, and like after the fact, and he says, yeah, he was off his lips when he's talking to him. It's worth having a look at. Rebrand, I think Young Nazi and Proud it's called. Collett at the time was like part of the youth wing of the BNP, and it's just a little shite bag, but obviously he's kept going, and here he is leading Patriotic Alternative. They're doing things at the minute, right? And this speaks to this whole thing about giving young people things to do. This is really strange because like the project that I did work with, right, it was an element of it was to train young people to go on expeditions around the world, but you would take them up like the Peak District and stuff like that. Well, patriotic alternative have been taking young people out on walks. You can look and find them with flags planted up at the top of fucking Ben Nevis and all kinds of places. Because look, we know that like getting young people together and things of that nature, and I spent years doing it myself, and getting them out in the environment, they're susceptible to like it's not manipulation when it's youth work, but with these fucking fascists, it clearly is. It just goes all the way back to like, yeah, oh God, I think it's all your problems. By the way, can I introduce you to the concept of black people being your problem? And it goes from there. These are the people who've been warming that area up for a long time, that area being Liverpool and Merseyside. And one of the reasons is they got their asses handed to them a few years ago outside of the train station. They didn't even get out the train station. That was national action. So ever since then, the far right has just got a bee in its bonnet about Liverpool. They know if they can crack Liverpool, they can crack the entire country. And look, it looks like they're about to, doesn't it? The top moment is this: all nonces are bad. It doesn't matter what the color of their fucking skin is. That's something else that we have to like get out on the table, right? I have no problem with refugees and asylum seekers, just for the record, in case you're watching this for the first time at all. However, here's a problem, right? The government is not at all putting the right amount of workers and resource around refugees and asylum seekers. Standard things. People have got different norms and values in different countries. We need workers in there, and we've been saying this for years, to be talking with and educating people who come into the country about what the norms and values are. But that doesn't necessarily, that's not me saying like, oh, refugees and asylum seekers are more likely to be nonces. But I tell you what, there's definitely nonces in groups of thousands of people, wherever they're from. Statistically, there's going to be some nonces. And I guarantee you this, right? There's nonces in the fash. And they don't talk about this very much at all, in fact. But before we do, I just want to show you this picture here. There's Collar with Nick Griffin, BNP, back in the days where they still spoke. Because here's the thing. The fash, right? They're maybe united at the minute, or seemingly. They'll fall out just as much as the left do. So there's ways and means. So what else do we have here? 4 years, little Rajis. Right. Just bear with us. Right, just something I want to point out. Netpol have called counter protest. It's Saturday, the 25th of February. It's in UK. Details are to be confirmed. It's called Resist Far Right Racists. What they're saying is, following the horrific events in Knowsley, far right are mobilising to come to Cornwall to target a hotel in Cornwall to take a stand on the streets of UK to say in our names, we will not allow what happened in Knowsley to happen in Cornwall. Refugees welcome. We will not tolerate fascism on our streets. Save the date, 25th of February. So it's nice to see people are getting things pulled together. Hopefully it involves actually going and talking to the young people of Newquay and reaching out to them, and not throwing loads of fucking, like, have you ever thought about reading Marx and all that bollocks? Dead that shit out. Nobody's fucking interested in this theory, right? This is why the fascists are being really, really successful right now. And we really need to like stop navel gazing on the left and realize this is happening right now, and we need to organize. So big up Netpol for doing something that doesn't involve telling people about Marx all the time. Because it's fucking boring. And I guarantee you this, if I was a young lad from Crocky wearing a Berghaus or a North Face and going around chived up and that, I wouldn't want to be hearing about your fucking mad theories. What I want to know is, right, is like how I'm gonna feed my family, have a house, maybe even a mortgage if I'm lucky, without resorting to like selling beak or shot and crack on the street and ruining me fucking entire neighborhood as a result of it. Till I've got this nihilistic mentality where somebody who might look like me comes along and tells us all of these different reasons why I'm in the shit and I'm having to deal with the gear. And then I'm looking over here, and all these people who you think might be on my side are just sitting there tutting and judging, and that's the left. So I do not think the people who should be listening, white middle class liberals, basically, and just really, really, really judgy white working class people who are of at least one toe in the racism. I don't think everybody's going to hear this, but I think people who are open to hearing this, we need to start a dialogue. We need to spread this, and we need to come correct, and we need to fucking understand that there's a hell of a job on turning this around in working class communities. A hell of a job on. Britain is basically fascist Ireland now, and the left are to blame, the right are obviously to blame because this is what they want. The media are definitely to blame, and we're to blame for not building our own institutions sooner and just kind of sitting off, taking everything for granted because we've all done it. I've done it. You've done it. I'm willing to admit that I've done it though. I've still been talking about exactly this for fucking 10 years though at the same time. So I'm more than a little bit pissed. Like that we've got to this point and there's just a load of fucking dafties who've just been laughing at us for pointing it out. Will you be laughing when they come bursting through your door because once you attended a protest? Will you be laughing when they're dragging black people off the street and the police are doing fuck all because they control the police? Because how far away from this are we? I mean, do we trust the police? No, we don't. So, and that's because of the things they've done and things they haven't done. It's nothing we've done. So we've got a job on. We've got a lot to fucking do, man. Like, seriously, man, it's not good. None of this is fucking good. But working together and dropping out a lot of this absolute shite, and also just acknowledging that the Labour Party are not the solution. Like, people are like creaming their knickers sitting there next to the ham on a Berrico on the fucking kitchen island, right? About Yvette Cooper being Home Secretary, as opposed to Suella Braverman standing there with her like controls on immigration Labour mug. We haven't forgotten. These people are absolute ghouls. They are definitely, she is definitely part of the problem and why we've got to this point. Definitely. Because it's people like Yvette Cooper I'm referring to when I refer to the so-called left. Because nobody who actually understands this thinks they are left-wing. But people within the communities in Knowsley look at the Labour Party as the left wing because people don't follow the details of this. Like the way Corbyn was smeared, it does go over onto these people. And you know what? Fucking good. Sometimes the wind changes direction and you get blown with your own stench. Let's see what the comments are. Comments are. Sounded like I was just about to start crying. Maybe I will, but never in front of a fascist. Anyway, Joanne, our media is still reporting the occasional miracle, but yes, a week on and the miracles are fewer, thankfully. Oh, right, you're talking about Joanne's in Turkey. She's talking about the earthquake. Much love to everybody, Turkey, Syria, who's been affected. MS is saying, as a Muslim, I saw this kind of thing coming, and it's why I'm doing everything in my power to make sure I'm never trapped in the UK. Mates, just know that we'll stand alongside you. Love see no colour or religion. And I'm really sorry that you're feeling this way. Really. I wish it was different, but just know that there's people out there, people in this comment section and others who will never, ever back down to these people. Just know that. So, Kelly D, what you saying? It's capitalism. The system we live under breeds hate and blame. No lie spoken. You're dead right. In fact, I would suggest that it runs on hate and blame because if people are too busy trying to like fucking drag innocent people out of an asylum seeker hotel, then I mean, geez, what else? Stephen Charlton, hello, pal. All right, brother, got to keep this up. When you end up in the camp, come say hello. I will, and now you'll be there. So that's when the resistance starts, isn't it? Bring some piano wire in, and we'll get the guards. You distract them with a can. Distract them with a can of fucking Stella, big lad. Get them distracted. Look at this. Stephen's saying, look at the coin billionaires will fling at a football club. GB News is pocket money. Absolute spot on. Zoe saying, who is responsible for this show being this. Today, there isn't a mainstream media that isn't pandering to the fash, really. Some not so much as others, but it's still there. Exactly. And this is exactly why we have set up the disruptor that is Cow Daily. Like, please consider becoming a patron, man. Please. Because we will show our faces. We will fight these fuckers. We'll build this and employ other people to do just the same. And we'll look back on this time almost in a cute way when we're going up against ITN News with the real news, the actual news. So that's patreon.com/cow daily, patreon.com/cow daily. There's a link in the description of this show if you want to make a one-off contribution via PayPal. We've got to stop being scared, man. Got to stop being scared. No more time for scared. There just isn't. Like, they're going to get one anyway. It's the Pastor Martin Niemöller first they came for thing, innit? They're going to get worse, so you might as well die on your feet rather than live on your knees there. Because I fucking hate these people. Let's be honest. I mean, who wants to fucking be a fascist, man? They're just so uncool. But that's the thing. They've kind of just provided some bullshit answers. Well, the left have sneered and they've ceded the cool to the really bad people. Gandalf the Red. All right, Milk. Honestly, don't know what the solution is beyond making racists afraid to be racist. Speaking of that, make racists afraid again. Shouts to B. Dolan and Sage Francis every time. I blame a lot of these neolibs that have spent time pretending anti-racists have been just as base as racist, and that we must only ever politely debate people that want to deny folks' existence. Agree? It's completely. We need to be on the front foot and confronting this shit. But we also, before we do that, we need to do a searching and fearless moral inventory and smell the end of the tip of our own shit. And before we even go talking to anybody else, that has to happen. Because unless we're good within our fucking selves, man, people will smell that bullshit from a fucking mile off. So I would suggest we don't go into communities unless we're doing it authentically. And we're prepared to acknowledge the criticisms that they have of us. And that's true of just any scenario in life. If where shit continues to fucking stink, then, God, people are just going to smell bullshit, innit? Stands to reason. But you're dead right. We'll have to get on the front foot. Sarah Orgill, the left want to clap themselves on the back for using less plastic, whilst the working class disabled are worried about how decisions are going to impact their lives. All this while previously sensible friends are parroting fash dog whistles. Spot on. And this is the thing. Working class people see the left as being not them. Now, that's not working class people's fault. It's fucking mental, right? When people are talking about the working class from a Marxist perspective. Here's the thing. It was written a long time ago, and there's lots of themes within it that we can use now. But all of this fucking bullshit on the left about, hey, here we are, Marx was right. He's right. It was right about a lot of stuff. Absolutely. It's a groundbreaking piece of work. Das Kapital. Well done. 10 out of 10 gold stars. But there's a hell of a lot of it which just doesn't apply to now. And we've got to fucking get that chucked out the way and actually deal with talking to people face to face again. Like, can we fucking do that? You know what I mean? Like, we'll have to do it. Like, otherwise, we might as well just forget. Like, fascism is well resourced financially and from a human resource perspective. And it's not coming, it's here. It's here already. And I don't know what else to fucking say. Like, 10 years or more been banging on about this. And it's just like, I might as well just want to fucking put my foot through the wall, like. Because, like, what the fuck, man? Like, what the actual? Joanne saying, please become a patron and join the cow family. Cow emoji and purple heart. Please do. Well, nice one. That would be absolutely appreciated. And I understand times is hard. I get it. But we'll kind of keep doing this for, now, basically. We've got to got to build it, and the only people that can rely on are you. So if you can, fantastic, beautiful, beautiful. Last one from MS. Put people before theory always. Theory isn't scripture. You can't preach it. Actually working with people, helping them and building with them is what creates the space to talk theory. Completely agree with you. And I tell you what else would have mitigated against all this. 95% of the youth and community funding has just been ripped since Cameron's austerity. That, and we said this at the time, has been part of this. Because if you haven't got people like me in communities challenging this nonsense at source, then, well, obviously it's gonna, and I'm not saying we would have stopped it, but I tell you fucking what, we would have tried. But we weren't there on the ground seeing it bubble up. And it's just, oh man, it's so obvious to us that this is part of a wider agenda and has been for quite some time. And it's like smash the left. And it's worked. So we need to pick up the broken pieces and we need to go again. Simple as. Thanks for being here, chaps. Really do appreciate you as ever. As we say, please do comment, rate, and subscribe. If you want to listen to this, you can do that via Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And please let other people know that that's available to them. And please do get people involved in this. Like, I want to tell you a story, right? And it's a bit of an inspiration of ours as well. And I'm not saying this is the direction of travel because I don't want to be a politician. In Spain, there was something set up from the Indignados movement called Unidos Podemos, and it started from an internet sort of TV/radio show. And a guy called Pablo Iglesias, he presented that, but there's a whole host of people within Unidos Podemos. Currently, this all really worked, and the Deputy Prime Minister of Spain is Podemos as part of a coalition. And what they've done successfully is drag the PSOE, which is their version of the Labour Party, to the left. And now we see universal basic income trials and just general, like, far better stuff coming out of lockdowns, etc., for the Spanish people. So we can win things, man. Like, this isn't all about sitting whinging, whatever, but let's get round every day, 12 o'clock, and we'll fucking work this out. And what I'd love to see is things like out in communities springing off from this. Now, we are talking with like other activists and all that, and these things are likely to happen. But we need to build again from the ashes of what went before, because that's where we are. The left got smashed and it was burned to shit. So here we are, the survivors. What we're going to do about it, eh? Now what I'm going to do about it, please join me. Anyway, all love to everybody, and just have a fucking really special day. See you later.